Ladies and gentlemen, we're always taking it a notch higher through informative and intellectual debates here on the Great Debaters Contest. This is Mary Region. I am your host, Chris Boru.
And I am Esperanza Kapanga. In the proposition today, we have the ladies from Chuka Girls High School.
In opposition, we have Kaaga Boys High School.
And the motion on the table is surrounding leadership in Africa. And it says, African leaders should declare their wealth as a prerequisite to seeking elective posts.
Proposal number 1, you have 3 minutes to make a statement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for granting me this opportunity to strongly propose the motion that states African leaders should declare their wealth as a prerequisite to seeking elective posts. What is this wealth you are talking about? This is a large amount of money, education, information that I may owe. Who are these leaders? Leaders is a person leading the group, a group of an organization, or even a country. For example, presidents. What some elective posts that we may seek in African countries? They include government seats. We also have education seats that, for example, in Kenya, Kupet. On to my first point. For the African leaders declaring their wealth, it will help to curb corruption, which is against Kenyan's laws. For example, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, led by Eliud Abukara, they have the information on how somebody acquires the wealth. And with this, they will also help to curb the person, the leaders, to embezzlements. For example, these are false accusations. You'll be embezzled as a leader. Because they have that information for you, they'll be able to protect you. On to my second point, it is a way for citizens to ensure that leaders don't abuse their powers for personal gain. As a public officer, Ethics 2013, a public officer should not use his or her property to improperly enrich himself or the others. This is true and it is a fact. According to Ethics 2013, you should not use a public property only to help yourself or to enrich the others. Like in Liberia, it is a law for a leader to declare his or her wealth to the public. Yes, it is a law according, and it should be followed. So if I declare this wealth to the public, it gives that confidence to the citizens to ensure that leaders don't abuse their power for personal gain. With that, I rest my case.
First opposer, you have 3 minutes to present your case.
When you visit a mechanic to fix your car, do you want the kind of a mechanic who is going to sweet talk you or comment about the status of your car? Or do you want that mechanic who is going to be rude but your car lasts for decades? I mean, do you want a leader who is going to deliver promises or a leader who is going to declare his personal wealth? Ladies and gentlemen, great wealth is not a sign of intelligence. Leadership is both a research area and a practical skills area. I mean, there is no need of wealth declaration. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bakari Roka from Kaaga Boys High School. Strongly to oppose the motion that states African leaders should declare their wealth as a prerequisite for an elective post. Well, the definition was not explained. It is imperative for us to understand the motion. Who is an African? African is a person belonging in Africa. Or the blacks, we're all blacks. A leader is someone who guides, inspires, knows the way, leads the way of the people. That is a leader. Like the president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, is a leader. To declare is to announce publicly wealth is money, property that is owned by someone. Prerequisite is a requirement. Elective post is a post gotten through election. Therefore, as for me, wealth declaration is a person's balance sheet which covers assets, liabilities, and all the incomes of an individual. Well, wealth declaration in Kenya so far so good. The systems are faulty and they are not verifiable. Africa comprising of developing nations, lacks these systems. We are not like Russia, Georgia, Slovenia, whereby there are sophisticated softwares where the citizen can access, scrutinize the net worth of individuals. I mean, what do you expect if the systems are faulty? They'll give us a fault results. As we all know, garbage in, garbage out in the computer. So, if the results are not positive, they will not reflect the true picture of the wealth of a person. Ladies and gentlemen, that is how wealth declaration is malicious. I would like to summarize by saying that wealth declaration can declare insecurity. We would like to concur with my judges. If you expose what you own in your pocket, some few seconds will be, gun muzzle will be around you. Thank you.
Second proposer, you have 3 minutes for cross-examination.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for granting me this great opportunity to greatly propose this motion that states African leaders should declare their wealth as a prerequisite to seeking elective posts. Chuka Girls High School, Margaret Fombea. First, I would like to pose a question to my fellow member on the other side. He said that the software He said that the software for declaring wealth, for assessing the wealth of aspirants, is not developed in African countries. But in countries such as Liberia, Cape Verde, Sao Tome and Principe, this is made possible. Can he please get his facts correct? On to my first point, it can help the government to fight vices. For example, tax evasion. If the government has the correct information about the amount of wealth that a certain aspirant has, the government will be able to, for example, for people or aspirants who have the tendency of not paying their taxes. If the government knows your exact wealth, the exact amount of money, of properties, of assets that a person has, they can be able to curb your taxes. My second point, essential for transparency that in turn boosts economic status of a country. If the government has knowledge of the foreign investments or other businesses that a certain aspirant has, the government may in turn take a chance and be able to invest in some of the businesses that this person has, or even be able to regulate more taxes from that person's wealth. My third point, it helps electorates to get the right and most qualified person for the job. As the public, we look unto the person who is competent, who is capable of leading us in a right manner. If this person is able to prove to us that he has been able to handle his money, to handle his wealth up to where he is right now, that person shows us, he is transparent enough to show us that he is capable of leading us, of developing our country. And with that, I rest my case.
Second opposer, you have 3 minutes for cross-examination.
Good evening and welcome to GDC Live. I'll be your host, Dennis Ibuing. On to the headlines. Yet another NYS scandal. We are tired of this. As Kenyans, we are tired of corruption at all times on our news. My speaker has just pointed out that when we declare our wealth, we are going to curb corruption. This is not the case. We are well aware of people who have kept their monies in foreign accounts. A good example. Take the musician Michael Jackson. He was a great man. He had monies. But then, when he died, what happened? There were succession disputes. Reason being, the foreign accounts that he kept. My speaker has also pointed a point about tax evasion. If the systems in Kenya are not even capable of holding a credible and fair election, how then are you going to tell us that the systems will be able to hold the taxes for these great companies whose leaders are corrupt? Secondly, he's pointed out about wealth and good leaders. Now, a leader is not determined, or a leader does not come out with a person who have the monies, it all starts in the mind. A leader is born. That's what we're saying. The process of declaring one's wealth is very expensive. Take, for example, how will you tell me, example of the Safaricom CEO, how will you tell me we'll be able to declare his wealth first? We cannot be able to get hold these monies and the company, he has investment, yes. These cannot be brought into one. We cannot be able to hold these accounts and say that Mr. Bob Colimo holds this amount of monies. That is not possible. Second, it is time wasting. How will someone be able to, he won't be able to be trusted? For example, if Mr. Colimo had foreign accounts or was not dealing with legal entities, he will not be able to quote them. This brings the process of declaring one's wealth, it bringing a question mark to what Mr. Bob Colimo has. Thank you.
The proposers have been asked, what about the cases where some leaders will register their property under different people's names? What is the guarantee that only their declared wealth is their personal wealth? The opposers, on the other hand, have been asked, with regards to the example concerning Michael Jackson, was he a leader? Proposer number 3, you have 3 minutes to answer the question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to propose the motion that states that African leaders should declare their wealth as a prerequisite to seeking elective posts. First, to answer to the question, under the section of the Kenyan Constitution, that is Section 22A, all public officers should practice and promote that the public elected leaders are selected on the basis of integrity and confidence. To also correct my other colleagues that said that talked about the NY scandal, we have Margaret Waiguru. She was not elected, she was nominated. We are talking about the elective posts. To my first point, it serves as an inspiration to people to work harder. Just as John Adams said that if your actions inspire people to work more, dream more, and become better, then you're a leader. To my second point, it is also a requirement in most African countries. For example, we have South Africa, Liberia, where you are supposed to declare your wealth publicly to all the people to have access to it. We also have in Kenya, where in some sections you are required to declare your wealth publicly to everybody. Not only everybody, but also to those commissions that deal with the election processes. Thank you.
Third opposer, you have 3 minutes to respond to your question.
Boniface Macau from Kaaga Boys High School. Here to address the first question. Black Americans originated from Africa, so they are part of Africans. To the second question, no, they say that listening is an art that takes years to achieve. They say that listening is an important skill that each and every person needs, a skill that sadly lacks in most of us. Did you hear our first opposer say that a leader is a person who inspires others? A leader is a person who people follow. A leader is an image who people admire. He was giving an example of an African leader, of a leader who declared wealth, but not a political leader. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to a group of people in our world today. Let me introduce you to a group of people known as the haves, the untouchables. We acknowledge that the law is a double-edged sword that cuts from both sides. But all of you, we have seen NYS Scandal Season 1, NYS Scandal Season 2, the Eurobond saga, the Goldenberg saga. What connection has the law done? Nothing. It's because those involved in those sagas are untouchables. There is no single way declaring wealth can get rid of corruption. I want you to respond to this by raising up your hand. I have 1,000 shillings, and I have 100 shillings, and I want to give this money. Now, how many for the 1,000 shillings? How many for the 1,000 shillings? How many for the 100 shillings? Of course, we live in Africa, where if you do not have money, where you do not have connection, you do not have the opportunity to lead people in Africa. Look at Kasweta, look at Paul Kasweta, the MP. Our deputy president, William Ruto, who was known, by the way, to be a hustler, the deputy the governor of Nairobi County was known to be a governor. If the declaration was a prerequisite for seeking elective post, would we have such leaders in our country? Would we have such potential leaders in our country? Food for thought.
Proposers, you have 1 minute to make a final statement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to conclude the motion that African leaders should declare their wealth as a prerequisite to seeking elective posts. First of all, thank you, honorable members, for agreeing with me that, just as Mark Yanel said, a leader is someone who demonstrates what's possible, and that is that with the wealth that we have, we can also become wealth like him. Actually, if I hand my wealth in a more justified manner, why should I hide it? Thank you.
Proposers, you have 1 minute to make a final statement.
I am allergic to those rumors which are being spread by my fellow. Judge Tony and Maina, I wish you could show us the amount of money that you have in your pockets. Because as for me, I'm worried for my security. When I expose my money here, it means some few seconds there, I'll have someone following me. And that is the same as wealth declaration. And our second proposer, who has said that in Africa, there are some countries which have declared wealth, or they have those laws, like Libya and the other one. But how many countries are there in Africa? 55. That is just a drop in the ocean. That's a drop in the ocean. Excuse me, please give us or feed us with facts, rather than food for thought. Thank you.
Let me start with the girls. First thing that stands out is that you're very good speakers, and I like that. And that's an element of debate that talks about your mastery of language, and that's beautiful. First debater, that should be Agnes. That was a fair definition. I think I gave the definition more towards Kaaga boys. They were quite elaborate with that. However, you give some very good submissions about no abuse of power, and you give the example of Liberia. That's okay. What you want to do anytime you give examples, that means that you've gone to specific research that you've done. It's good to tell us, because anywhere you research, there was a source, okay? It's good to say that we got this from this particular place. However, and I think this was common across the board, you were penalized because of your time utilization. All of you never utilized the 3 minutes given, okay? And that was quite sad. You want to maximize as much as you can. If you look at your opponents, they're even going past the bell. That tells you they had a lot to tell, okay? Margaret, very passionate, and I think you stand out for me as a very good speaker. Keep that spirit up. And also the fact that you understood your role in cross-examination, that was well done. However, again, use your time well. Mercy as well, good cross-examination. I think you talked about the elected leaders. We're talking about elected leaders, not just nominated leaders. However, Mercy, you only utilize 1 minute, so you're left your whole 2 minutes and wondering what else that we could have expected. So I think with more research, that could have been better. To the boys, that was a good fight. Bakari, good definition. I think your start of the definition was well done. And I think you're quite creative and comfortable, which gives a plus for you as a debater. Good flow. I felt, however, though, that in as much as you have that passion and believability, you could have built a case. For example, you're saying they don't need to declare their wealth. And as you said, the example they're giving is a drop in the ocean. Then the question would have been, take one example, for example. I think even in Kenya, I think this is a discussion now we are having. We have never had leaders declaring their wealth before they're elected. Some have done that voluntarily. But would you have taken an example and say, look at this leader, a very excellent leader. He didn't have to declare the wealth, but look at the progress that we have. that could have built a better case. So sometimes in debates, you want to build a case so that the rest of your debating team as well take it up from there. Dennis, good cross-examination. I think you had very good cross-examination. However, when you gave the example of Michael Jackson, for example, you want to substantiate every fact you give, all right? If he has wealth extra in other countries, say, for example, this amount was found in this particular country, which are facts and they're there, all right? So go to the extent of giving those particulars. However, that example of Bob Collum, I think it was a bit vague because it never hammered to the point. So you want to ensure you have critical points that you're giving in Boniface. You say that there is no single way of declaring wealth can end corruption. That was a very strong statement. However, you never substantiated it because it is a big statement and that's a claim. Any claim you want to say, you don't want to come out as, those political commentators who just say things and then you can't tell where they're coming from. You're a good orator, but I think you can now work on substantiating that. Good creativity though, I like that money example that you gave and I think the audience connected with it. What you want to do though, is not to hammer it and say that we are Africans. So does that mean that Africans are only thinking about money, my brother? You want to say probably this is something that eats across, okay? So where are these elected leaders that are very good examples? I was hoping you could get such examples, all right? All the best.
And now we're down to the numbers. Chuka Girls High School, the judges saw it fit to award you 65%. Let's appreciate them. Kaaga Boys High School, you managed to garner 68%. Let's appreciate them. Congratulations. Congratulations to both schools for giving us a good debate.
To our debaters, we'd like you to know that you're all great debaters. The debate might be over, but the conversation still continues across our social media platforms. The hashtag is GDC for SDGs. We'd also like to remind each and every school to implement at least one sustainable development goals that will impact not only your schools, but also your society, so as to make Kenya a better place.
We would also like to appreciate our sponsors, Blaze by Safaricom and Brand Kenya Board for making this possible. I have been your host, Esperanza Kapanga.
Until next time, I have been your host, Chris Buru. Stay tuned.